All right, Michael, draft week is off to an exciting start. It's starting off with a bang. I believe it's been 40 days since Aaron Rodgers went on Pat McAfee's show and said his intention was to play with the New York Jets. Well, he is now a New York Jet. It is official as of today, as of less than a half hour ago. The Jets get Aaron Rodgers, who will wear number 8, despite having Joe Namath's blessing to wear number 12. They receive the 15th overall pick from Aaron Rodgers and a 5th-round pick in the 2023 draft, which is number 170 overall. The Packers received the 13th overall pick. So there's a pick swap, 2 slots. They move up 2 slots in the first round. The 42nd overall pick in the second round of this year's draft. The 207th overall pick in the 6th round of this year's draft. And a conditional 2024 second that becomes a first. There was a sticking point. If Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of plays in 2023, which is not a high threshold. You have to get hurt or get shut down or quit to not make 65% of the snaps. No word if the Jets got that whole 25 compensation if Rodgers retires stuff that I think they dropped a long time ago. Point being is Brian Gutekunst basically went to Joe Douglas and said, and I want David Putney just because I feel like it. We argued, and a lot of people argued about, oh man, who has the leverage here? I told you, it was simple. The Packers had what the Jets not only wanted, but so desperately needed, which is a quarterback, stability at quarterback, and the ability to get in the playoffs for the first time in over a decade, the longest drought in North American major professional team sports. And sure enough, the Jets caved. And I don't say that as a criticism. It's a great trade for the Jets. They had to. They had to do it. Good for them.
Mike, not only is it a great trade for the Jets, it's a great trade for us as football fans, football observers, football commentators. What a way to kick off draft week for us to get what we expected, but still, when you see it materialize, it's still shocking to see Aaron Rodgers, 15 years in Green Bay, going from a Packer to a Jet. It's amazing. And you're right. Mike, Woody Johnson, and we heard from back channels, we heard Woody Johnson and Joe Douglas say, oh, it really changed our perspective when we heard Aaron Rodgers tell Pat McAfee that he was 90% retired. He was 90% retired going into his darkness retreat. Who are we? How could we possibly, in good conscience, trade so many assets for a guy who's 90% retired? Okay, yeah. That sounds good. But before Aaron Rodgers said that to Pat McAfee, Woody Johnson said this to the media at large. You know what he said? We're a quarterback away. He said that after the season. We're a quarterback away. We're a championship roster. We just need a quarterback. And we got to do whatever is necessary to get us a quarterback. So everybody heard that. Everybody knew how desperate Woody Johnson and Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, all of them, and all of New York, all Jets fans, you can't sit there for a dozen years and not even make the playoffs in a dozen years when you got the Giants across the street. Yeah, they don't always make the playoffs, but they got championships.
On the come up.
They've got championships in the last dozen years.
Got the tradition.
And you don't.
Absolutely.
So this is a great move, and I think the Packers got everything they wanted. They move up 2 slots in the draft just because. Okay, 2 slots. They get a first-round pick, essentially, in 2024. And they got Aaron Rodgers. The only bad thing.
What's the only bad thing?
The only bad thing about it, I mean, I guess it's just in this world, this world of capology, and they're going to have to play some games with this. They got $40 million dead money on their cap because Aaron Rodgers is now in New York. So you got to manage that. It's tough to really build the roster, the exact roster that you want. But there are ways around that too.
And they're also a draft and develop team. They've never traditionally been a big free agent spending team anyway.
Right.
They like to keep and retain their own guys. Look, man, I know that reportedly the Jets told Derek Carr when they were talking to Derek Carr that if you come here and you win here, you can go to the Hall of Fame. They ain't got to lie to kick it with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is already going to the Hall of Fame. You telling me you're getting a Hall of Fame quarterback who is not that far removed from, I believe, his 4th MVP? And back-to-back before last year, you're getting somebody who's still one of the upper echelon quarterbacks in the NFL, and you're telling me you're giving up a pick swap, because from their perspective, from the Packers' perspective, whether it's a sweetener or a significant, moving up from 15 to 13, that's not nothing. From a Jets perspective, that's nothing. Okay, so you slide down 2 spots in the first round. You give up a second-round pick when I believe they had multiple second-round picks this year. You give up a 6th-round pick, get back a 5th. And that 24-second becoming a first, if Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps, you know what that probably means for the Jets? You had a damn good season, a lot of which we saw in prime time. That is a small price to pay, given how many first-rounders that franchise has blown on a lot of positions, in particular the quarterback position, just 2 years ago, being the most recent example. Right. You know, I mean, so it's like, what is a first-round pick when you are that playoff-starved and that desperate for a quarterback? My only disappointment is that this should have happened a long time ago. This was the longest, most unnecessarily drug-out negotiation ever. Once Aaron Rodgers said, I want to play, and I want to play for the Jets, that trade should have been done the next day. Because it's the only way this was ever going to go, was that the Jets were going to give the Packers exactly what they wanted, even if it meant giving up David Putney.
Well, I'll tell you this. You mentioned primetime. I bet you the NFL schedule maker is going to be looking like Questlove back there on the 1s and 2s doing a little remix. We got the schedule coming out next month, excuse me. And I'm sure that they had the Jets in a certain amount of primetime games without Aaron Rodgers officially. Now, officially with Aaron Rodgers, I think this year you can get up to 6. I think you can get 6 primetime games on a 17-game schedule. And I'm just going to throw it out there. I think the Jets will have 6 primetime games. But there's one thing that's in the back of my mind.
Twos, I need you to. But I just want to. Yeah, they did have 2 twos. They got the other second for Elijah Moore.
Right.
From the Browns.
Number 42.
Yeah.
I think they have 42 and 43, right? Is it 42, 43 or 42, 44? They had that.
Something like that, yeah.
They give up the highest one. But I need you to disabuse me of this. I just got this thought in the back of my mind, and I can't get past it. And it's just because, this is the way, the Packers clearly don't think the way I think, or maybe they do. If I have something, whatever it is, if there's something elite, if there's something great, I am not looking to move on before that thing has exhausted itself. Whatever it is, whether it's an inanimate object.
Okay, so you back on that.
Yeah.
So we should have never got here, is what you're saying.
I'm just thinking though, Mike, Aaron Rodgers didn't have a 300-yard game last year. Aaron Rodgers threw for the fewest amount of yards that he has in a long time. He threw for a bunch of interceptions. And I'm wondering if the Green Bay Packers say, well, we see something that the Jets don't see. They're even more desperate than we are. We like Jordan Love more than they like Zach Wilson. So our alternative to Aaron Rodgers is superior to their alternative for Aaron Rodgers. And so, let's just move him out now because he ain't the same Aaron Rodgers who won those MVPs, and the Jets go find. I don't know. I just think, how do you trade Aaron Rodgers and feel great about it after all those stats? The things you say are
we've
true.
We've been
going to the Hall of Fame.
We've been in the mode of who has the leverage and what are the terms.
Yeah.
We've been in the weeds and inside baseball so much until I don't know if we've ever, you and I at least, have ever truly stepped back and been like, damn, they about to really trade Aaron Rodgers. But I think the truth of the matter, though, is it's like, I don't know if it's whether it's a superior alternative to just an alternative. They had an alternative whose biological clock was ticking like this. And if they didn't get Jordan Love in the lineup sooner rather than later, they were going to have to go back to the drawing board at quarterback. I mean, they're going to exercise, if they haven't already, his 5th-year option, but he hasn't played yet. He's got to play. So they basically made this decision, as we all know, the day that they decided to trade up in the draft to take Jordan Love coming out of Utah State. Once they did that, that bed was made, I beg your pardon, and now they're sleeping in it. But I think they sleep comfortably because, they've gone through 2 quarterbacks in the last, damn near 40 years? And the reason is because they know they've seen this movie before. They've seen this before, where it's like, okay, we got Favre. We're going to draft Rodgers before we actually need him. Everybody else should be taking notes. Minnesota's probably going to end up doing the same thing in this draft. A lot of people like them to take Hendon Hooker in the first round with Kirk Cousins on the way out the door. But it's like, hey, we're taking Rodgers, even though we don't need him, but he fell to, 25 or 24, whatever it was. They take Rodgers, pisses off Favre. Favre keeps him on the bench for 3 years until they had enough of Favre, and it's like, okay, it's your team. And they moved Favre to the Jets before he got to Minnesota. History repeating itself. But I don't think it's just coincidence. I think it's strategy. I think it's brilliant strategy. It's like, yo, man,
you think it's
eventually
brilliant?
there's going to come. I do, because there's going to come a day when Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to play. Or maybe the Packers just don't want to play his bullshit games anymore when it comes to will I play, will I not play, I went to a dark space, I don't know. It's like, eventually you're not going to play. We have to think long-term, and they've always had a long-term vision about this thing. And if you got a guy, now if they didn't have a guy, if they did not have a first-round talent at quarterback who had been groomed and developed in their program under Rodgers, not from Rodgers, but, as a backup, maybe they wouldn't have been in a rush to move on and start all over. But because they have Jordan Love, it absolutely made it easier to move on, even if it's premature from Aaron Rodgers.
See, here's the thing. This is maybe I've just seen this movie. You talk about this movie? You talk about the movie, the Brett Favre movie. That was in 2008. I got a movie
about the Brady
from
movie?
2020.
From
the Brady
the
movie.
Brady movie?
I've seen it,
Yeah.
and it really mirrors this one. It really does.
They thought he declined.
Because in 2019, the Patriots were like, "Oh, cool, bro. Go ahead and leave. Go ahead, fine.
And they didn't have,
we
ain't
got
have
a
an
quarterback
alternative.
option, and they didn't have an option."
Yeah,
But
they didn't.
in 2019, Tom Brady did not look like he was capable of winning another Super Bowl, another MVP, and he did exactly that. Won another Super Bowl MVP, won another regular season MVP. He was great. And Aaron Rodgers last year
He didn't win regular season, but I got you.
Oh, he didn't win regular season. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
He was really good.
He won a Super Bowl MVP, and he was a runner-up
Runner-up,
he was
yeah,
a
to Rodgers.
finalist, whatever it is. Yeah. But he had more than the Patriots saw. So I'm wondering, maybe it's his personality. It's just like the Packers think he's fine. Oh yeah, he can still play. He's good. We know
That's some of it.
We're just tired.
Yeah.
We're just
The
tired of
relationship
it.
has run its course.
But they weren't tired.
They're not attracted to him no more. They ain't
this
sleeping
time last year they
in
were.
the same bed no more. They ain't sleeping in the
This
same
time
bed.
last year, they weren't kicking him out of. They weren't kicking him out of bed this time last year.
You're right. No, they gave him a contract last year. They gave him a whole contract extension.
Gave him a huge contract.
They're going to have to eat some of it. Yeah.
So I wonder. But this is big. This is big news. You know what I want to hear?
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, real quick, then I'll kick it to you. I want to hear, now that Aaron Rodgers, it's not just Pat McAfee, this audience, now he's got the New York media. Come down, sit down.
That's going to be fun.
Uncle Aaron, let Uncle Aaron tell you a story. New York media, okay, we got the Jersey guys over here, I'm representing the tri-state. Jersey? Okay, I got you. Connecticut, I got you. New York, okay, all right, we got it. And so he's going to like give them different versions and give them little morsels. But I wonder if he will say consistently, hey, I didn't want this. I'm glad I'm here. But I told Green Bay I wanted to come back. They just pushed me out.
No,
and I think he might create that though. He might create it.
I mean, in his mind, he might tell himself that to just kind of give him a chip on his shoulder. Maybe he says it in his biography, but you don't want the Jets feeling like the rebound chick. You don't want to be like, well, I'm just settling for y'all. This ain't where I really want to be. I didn't really want to be in the Big Apple. I didn't really want to be in a place where I'm wanted. No, I think maybe he could say, hey, initially I wanted to come back, but the more I thought about it, because I mean, look, for Rodgers, okay, we talked about it from the Packers perspective. We talked about it from the Jets perspective. For Rodgers, this is great for him because the Packers probably weren't contending even with him. They were going to be relevant. They were going to be competitive. But, I mean, whose roster outside of quarterback would you rather have right now, the Jets or the Packers? I'd probably rather have the Jets, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Right.
Now, it's a tougher conference on paper, but, I mean, I think for Rodgers, it should be re-energized. We talked about it the other day. Like, you know, your old relationship is flamed out. Now you got somebody that think you fine, somebody that laughs at your bad jokes, somebody that doesn't mind your idiosyncrasies. This is great for him. So I would be shocked if he kind of played it like, yeah, I wanted to go back, but I got pushed out No, this is like, hey, I took control of the situation, and I looked at the landscape and saw an opportunity here to bring this fan base to the Super Bowl. I think he's going to play it right. I think he'll play it well.
This is huge.
The honeymoon period in New York should last, I don't know, a couple months. Couple months.
First month of the season. First month of the season.
Couple months. It's going to be fun.
We'll see.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. I'll tell you what, it's going to be weird seeing him wearing number 8, though. Number 8.
It's going to be weird seeing him wear number 8. It's going to be weird seeing him in another shade of green. Crazy how him and Brett Favre, their relationships are so their careers have been so parallel. Just one word of advice: just be careful in the text messages.
Yeah,
sorry,
that's right.
Listen,
no, stay focused. No, that's right. Stay focused.
Okay.
Stay focused.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you keep your mind on the field, and the only team employees you talk to are the guys that are in the locker room with you.
That's it.
Okay?
That's it.
Stay focused.
All right. It's over. Now we can focus on the draft.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.